Okay, so I've just read this entire document, which is the Assisting Offenders 2005 for Section 71, which it's about giving basically an immunity notice or a notice of immunity to certain offenders who are going to assist the police and give evidence, right? Um, I've actually learned quite a bit from it. These are the type of things that Starmer would have written. When Starmer, he probably would have written many of them because they don't give them out. Like they don't write them. They're few and far between. They're rare, but Starmer will have probably put his hand to some of these. They will have crossed his desk, so to say. Now, what I've actually realised is these are actually not what you think they are. Now, it says that they had some previous arrangements, they had some previous rules, some different ways of doing it based on some different law prior, right, to 2005. So they've changed how they do it. Now, this whole area of law, ironically, draws in the issues which I've found very problematic when it comes to, for example, Julian Assange, right? With his plea deals. Julian Assange was being given plea deals, and the judicial oath, the oath of the justices, which if you break your oath, it's actually going to be perjury. Even if you swear it falsely or break it, it's going to be perjury. Perjury can't be prosecuted through the normal courts. It can only be prosecuted higher up. I think that literally nearly all the justices are guilty of perjury. Not far off all of them, just like most of the police chiefs were guilty of being involved in illegal road signage, and also getting pleas. Um, taking confessions. Now, for driving offences and basically holding pleas when you're facing having your license and livelihood taken off you, it comes down to the judicial oath of the judge. Not they're not supposed to do favours or negotiated justice. They're meant to get evidence, what evidence they can, and they're meant to put the evidence in the court, and then they're meant to get the court to decide based on the evidence and apply the law, right? But in order to get that evidence, they're not actually meant to be allowed to do negotiated deals with persons with respect to persons' consciences in order to get pleas to coerce or change a plea in order for a certain particular outcome or sentence, because that therefore is done on a deal for a particular justice or outcome or punishment, not based on the evidence. It's based, therefore, on the person's will, whether they wanted to give evidence or not, or whether they wanted to plead guilty or not, and you can end up coercing people to change a plea, or because you might be scaring them or threatening them of punishments. And if you say, if you plead guilty, we won't kill you. If you plead not guilty, we will. That you're scaring them. Then it's actually got a military origin, particularly with the conflict between Scotland and England. Anyway, so this assisting offenders immunities, it involves making deals for justice. Basically, a lot of very shady dealings with justice. But what they've done is they've effectively broken the law. They've broken the constitution of England, and they've perverted the course of justice with all the justices, the whole training of the justices, the whole thing. And what they've done is they've slipped it under the rug, or they've conned. I don't know how they managed to pull it off, but they've brought it in on the sly, and then either just groomed or staff training, or groomed everyone to kind of accept it, or up through the colleges or done it gradually. I don't know how they did it, but they slipped it in and then they tried to make out that it was legitimate. But I think some people know that it's not legitimate because there are certain hints in this where people are admitting and confessing certain things, and even the word perjury comes up as well, but not for the justices, like for the assistant offenders. If they lie, commit fraud or forgery, it is forfeiting the privileges or so forth. Now, the witnesses in the Constitution and in law, witnesses who appear are meant to get immunity anyway, because it's not the witness on trial, right? It's the person who is accused who is on trial, right? Witnesses aren't meant to be the ones who are being prosecuted, but obviously they might end up incriminating themselves if they give evidence or so forth. Now that means that they might not want to give evidence. Now, when they do, like, basically what they're doing is they're offering immunity, but it's not immunity from prosecution. It is immunity from anything that you have done up to that point, which they might otherwise be able to prosecute you for. So if you've done anything up to the point when they give you this document that they can prosecute you for, they're protecting you from that. Now, they can protect you from one specific offence, or they can protect you from any or all offences, right? Complete immunity. But it's a backdated immunity, so they can't prosecute you for anything that you've done, right? And in exchange for that, they'll effectively you'll give them evidence and help them, right? And there's a lot of ins and outs around. It can get complicated, but it doesn't need to be complicated. Effectively, right? I think the whole thing's illegal. I mean, I've been through this paper and I've been reading paragraphs and just going illegal. The whole thing is illegal. But then they've got this principle called cleansing, right? And they're trying to make it all clean, because when they're doing dodgy deals with criminals, then criminals might end up being dodgy with them, basically, or the criminals might end up lying or not telling the truth, and then using it it can get messy, basically. They're effectively getting people to grass their friends up and dob their friends in when they know that they've all done something wrong, but they'll let them off. It's very traitorous. It's a very traitorous game to play and get people into being traitorous to each other. Usually you say your friends are people who stand by you and look after you and protect you. Now, no one's saying that anyone should break the law, but this was actually covered in the assisting offenders. I've just been reading the House of Lords, like, if husband and wife are one entity with their possessions, they're one unit, what happens if, like, one of them is been doing criminal activity and the other one doesn't report them or ends up helping them, but they weren't the criminal or in some way incriminated because of what someone else in the family has done? It can get complicated and messy, so it can have family problems. But this is why you don't do deals for justice with respect to persons, because it gets messy. And then what you're doing is you're getting people to kind of like, I mean, there's always been wanted posters, right? Robin Hood wanted, reward, 50 gold pieces. Well, if someone's seen him, fair enough, or if someone knows he's done it, he's inciting a reward. But usually in his own best mates who sell him out. That's like Will Scarlet, innit? Will Scarlet, sells out Robin Hood, right? But the oath and the law is meant to be about the offender, the accused, right? An offender and accused cannot hand themselves in for the reward of them being handed in, right? Because that's wrong in law and in the Constitution. But what the assisting offenders thing does is it's almost kind of like a wanted poster, a reward poster, right? But it's not like a wanted or reward poster when it's just John Simpkins who's walking down the road and he sees someone rob a bank, and then he gives the police information and he gets a reward for helping them, because he it's dealing with when other persons might actually have also committed crimes or been criminals, right? Then they might not want to grass other people up or give evidence because it might incriminate them, right? So it's like, would you hand the wanted poster? Would you answer the wanted poster if you were also going to be found out that you'd done something wrong as well? You'd be reluctant to. So this assisting offenders thing actually, they're saying they're not going to do anything to you, but by doing that, once you tell them that you committed a crime, but you're going to help them, get 50 gold pieces reward for dobbing someone else in, right? Then they're doing a deal with you for justice because they're making a deal with you that they're not going to prosecute you. So making a deal with you that they're not going to prosecute you is wrong in law, right? Because anyone who's committed a crime is supposed to be prosecuted, right? Now, so it's just all wrong. The whole thing's wrong, and what it does is they're effectively, right. And also, this is another thing. So, in regards of the immunity, I said that it only kind of protects you kind of historically backwards up to that point, right? They're not going to prosecute you for anything that you've done. But also, one thing that they don't discuss in this or thoroughly explain is that really, if they would issue you such a document and such a notice, it's quite clear and obvious that you are officially helping or assisting the police. So you're actually officially doing police work voluntarily, whether it's with a warrant or not. Police don't need a warrant. Their police work doesn't need to be warranted by a court because there is a larger percent of police work which is just done through the law, through legislation. They've got powers, right? But anyone has got those powers if they're following criminals or pursuing crime, really, because you can do a private prosecution and a private investigation, right? Some of the powers are delegated to senior officers and need consents and permissions, but that's all under the police force. A large section of law can be taken up and used by anyone if that is truly officially what you're doing, and you go to a court and prosecute someone. Everyone has the right to prosecute someone, right? Themselves. Now, if you officially have got a document that says you are working with the police and helping the police, then things that you do are for police purposes. So you won't really need immunity for from the point in time forwards, because anything that you do with or for the police is going to be under the same rules and law that the police are using, and they're allowed to do certain things and not allowed to do certain things. So they're not going to grant you complete and total immunity from all future actions and activities, because they might as well say that all police officers are completely and totally exempt in the law and have ultimate immunity. This is why the police don't like the right to petition that all prosecutions are illegal, because they don't have that. But they're just police officers in local crime, right? They're not doing matters of church, state, or law to the government, or making the laws by which they act in. And they might think they work hard and get really nasty criminals and do this or that, but they're still not making and changing the laws. And in fact, what happens when the police or government are doing something wrong or are corrupt, then it's really serious, and it's a lot more important than, someone stealing a car. Even if people might be getting injured, thousands of people are dying from tobacco or food, certain, toxic chemicals. So stopping that is also important. So now, what this act also does is it does actually indicate that, well, the police actually operating under proper full police powers and under the law, it says that really they can kind of engage in crime or at least play along with criminals. That there are certain laws under the Surveillance Act that MI5 and MI6 and the security services and 77th Brigade are using, which means that it's almost kind of like walking arm in arm. It's like, like if you think of, the Blue Oyster Bar in Police Academy, right? When they go in there and end up doing the tango together. effectively, as far as I can gather, it means that if someone's breaking the law, the police can link arms with them and tango along with them for a little while, breaking the law with the intent to prosecute them. But that's kind of coercing people into doing the tango with them. And if they do that a lot, they might as well be, I mean, they're doing the tango, they're breaking the law. So this is the thing. It's a little bit like a lot of this child porn you see on the internet popping up when you don't want it to pop up on websites. It just kind of, it's in the adverts and stuff like that you can't do about it. Someone's putting it there. And I think that the security services and the police are using that power. I think it's them. And I think they're trying to lure people to click on it so they can get them to see if they'll fish the bait and do it. And I also think that they're using it, the army are using it to control foreign governments. I think they're using those tactics in order to do these Middle East wars. Putin, NATO, and other things, I think they're using those powers to provoke, entice, intimidate, coerce other governments into doing certain things, using those strategies, tactics, and powers which have been learned and employed through that similar area of law, including the security services. But they're blaming Russia on it, But, Russia are messing around with our security services. Our security services are messing around with their governments. They're all toying with each other's todgers, basically. They're all playing games with each other. So I've got no sympathy for the MI6 chief at all whatsoever, other than the fact that the entire justice system is completely and utterly corrupt against our constitution now. But anyway, what was the point in that little part there? Well, that little part was just to say that really, once a person is officially helping the police and he's engaging with them, he's got the document to say that that's what he's doing. So he effectively, he can act and behave and conduct himself like a police officer, doing things that police can or can't do. And it turns out that they can actually do quite a lot. And then you've got a warrant from a court which can extend powers further to enter properties and search things, or kick doors in, blah blah blah. So once you officially got a document to say that that's what you're doing, and the police are telling you to do certain things or asking you to give information, you're effectively a special, a voluntary police officer, right? So you wouldn't need ultimate immunity because the police don't need it, or else they're being given it. When there is a lot of actions against the police, but I don't think enough actions against the police. So the writ of privilege, not the writ of privilege, the writ of immunity effectively is just to protect you from anything that you've done, that they're going to find out about, particularly when you go to court, right? There is a lot of ins and outs around it. You're not allowed to lie. You're not meant to lie, or because that's perjury, and that's going to be perjury for MPs or anyone. There is a lot of perjury in this already by its existence. The whole thing is perjury. The whole basis of it is perjury itself. It's based on perjury because of the judicial oath. It's based on perjury of the judicial oath, and there's probably little to no justices who haven't committed perjury now. Starting with Jeremy Johnson KC, with Assange, those American justices who did the Assange deal as well, all of them. What can you do about this? Well, a meteor could hit the world at any minute and blow it up. Robin Hood, the Sheriff of Nottingham, the conquest of England, William the Conqueror, a Roman army landing at marching to Colchester and taking the king. They built a wall across England, Hadrian's Wall. There's a lot of things happen in history. Kings and queens have been beheaded. There's been the Luddites smashing factories up. There's many. History is full of events. Now, I mean, I'm going to find it difficult to foresee. I mean, I just can't see the government confessing because there would be absolute bedlam. You know, the people would be furious beyond belief. I can't see this all. You know, I can't see all the justices in England being on TV and being prosecuted. It's just too much in it for even if I'm correct, even if it's true. Can't see every police chief being prosecuted either. I can't see that being true. Well, I don't mean true. I mean I can't see that it coming true. I can't see it happening, even if I am correct and I am true. I can't see that it coming true and happening because it's just you know it's probably, you know, it's, I mean, you know, there are crazy things that happen in the world, you know. I mean, you know, people in America were just walking up and down the beach and then a ship turned up and then the next thing, a lot of people piled out and then, you know, we were taking over a continent. So, you know, there are happen. Meteors do hit the planet and leave massive, huge, you know, indentations in the earth. That there's been hurricanes, severe weather things. I just can't see this government's so corrupt, and they never talk about the actual, real, proper, serious issues, and then they always conjure up these like propaganda events in the news, which kind of means something. It's got a name or word, which is a reference point to the actual thing that's the problem, but they're not allowed to say that there is a real, true problem. You know, so it's just evasion. There's actually another thing in this which he's got to make you laugh when you read this paper. I've read all of it. There's about 18 pages, and I've been through it. I went through it page by page and paragraph by paragraph, and I've made notes the whole way through it. I've written something by each paragraph, something insightful, something significant, something intelligent, something knowledgeable, and I mean, first to start off with, it claims that they can even write out those notices for any offence, but that's not true because in the actual legislation amendments, and this was done after the amendments, I'm quite certain, right? I'm pretty sure it says that it can only be done for an indictable offence, a serious offence, not a summary offence in a magistrate's court, like at smaller crimes, less serious, only for very serious ones, because this whole act is about really serious crimes. The police are only going to give people these immunities if people are helping them with serious, important crimes. They're not going to do it, you know, for you know, it's a serious organised crime. They're not going to do it, you know, because you had a fight in a pub or something like that, you know. That's a summary offence, right? So it's not serious indictable things. But this is the thing. I mean, you know, there are some mistakes in this in this document anyway. But you've got to laugh when it's talking about they're talking about disclosure, and it'll be detrimental, you know, if any of these criminals find out that, you know, any of their associates that have got these witness protections, and then it can compromise the investigation or the giving of evidence in court and so forth. It makes me laugh because also they say, well, you know, it could prevent them getting further evidence or more evidence, right? But what makes me laugh is that, you know, disclosure to the public, with the right to petition, in most cases, we've already got the evidence. For example, the evidence against the police and the judges. Now, I've already got that evidence. I've got strong evidence, but I don't need to get any more evidence. I've got enough evidence to show that it strongly suggests that they've done something wrong or it's illegal. But the problem is that they're refusing to act. They're refusing to confess. They're refusing to bring themselves to justice. So they need to be cleansed. They need to confess. How do you get them to do that? If you've already got the evidence to prove that they've done crime, how can you get something done about it? Well, I suppose you could bring a private prosecution if you had enough money. You could just prosecute them, except for perjury in a normal court, because it can only be done at the higher courts or top level courts. I don't know if you could. Well, private prosecution is the way to do it, I suppose. But that's money. You need and most people who've got that much money only do civil cases. You know, I don't know when the last time anyone did a £130,000 private prosecution against all the justices in England. You know, who's the prosecution against? Well, the justices. Which ones? Well, all of them. You know, who are the defendants? Every single justice in England under the same principle of law. You could do that. All you need to do is, you're proving a legal basis makes them all criminal. And they all took an oath, and, which ones, all you need is a list of justices who gave plea deals, or a list of justices who have been engaged in assisting offenders, but, this is the thing, the ministers made this law. Oh, yeah, the ministers have also made this law in here where they're claiming they're allowed to do discounts and deals, which, from Tony Blair's government, is just corrupt. It's illegal because it is against the oath. It's perjury, and they're hinting that they know that it's wrong and they're not supposed to do it, but they've decided that they're going to reform the system and it'll be better for them in their job, and it'll make the policing job easy and it'll be really good for them. But no, crime is through the roof. Crime's got even worse. There's even more criminals coming to the country. It's not got better, it's got worse. It's a complete and utter mess. And then there's all this surveillance issue where apparently surveillance state and big tech and MI5 and 77th Brigade are allowed to tango with people and even ask possibly maybe, do you want a sweet? Do you want a chocolate? Don't accept sweets from strangers, Do you want to fiddle a kid? Do you want to, drop your pants down? Do you want to touch my willy? Oh, no, that's illegal. I'll have to arrest you for that. It's almost like Jimmy Savile, innit? Do you want to come sit on my knee? Do you want to come sit on my knee? Do you want to touch my willy? This is it. Joking aside, this is the thing. Look, there's some drugs here. Do you want a line of this or a line of that? And then you do it. No, I'm gonna, that's entrapment. Then, but apparently they can tango with you. You can tango with them, So, and they're wanting more and more surveillance. It's despicable. It's utterly despicable. So yeah. What I'm saying is, in order to compel these people to confess, if you don't want to prosecute them yourself privately, in order to get these people, to petition the government, and what you're doing is you're instead of hiding it from the public, you've got to show it to the public. You've got to show it to the public, and then you're collecting signatures from the public, that's the evidence. You've got the evidence that something is wrong or being done wrong, but nothing's been done about it. So you need evidence of public concern. And you ain't going to get evidence of public concern until they've seen what's wrong and seen the complaint. And then when you've got 100,000 signatures in a big cardboard box and you drop it on the police chief's desk, and then you say, here is, the oath's been broken. I've already got that evidence. Now here is 100,000 people's signatures saying you will fucking confess, or you will hand yourself in, or you will prosecute these justices, right? Because 100,000 people say so, and that is my evidence. You're wanting people to know about it. Therefore, people knowing about it is not going to compromise or hinder you getting any more evidence. You got the evidence. That's, you got the evidence, but nothing's been done about it. Why the fuck are you petitioning the government? Right? The people knowing about it and acting, right, in protest or by signature is what compels something to be done about it. Because, if you didn't have the evidence, you wouldn't know that anything had been done wrong. So, with a complete opposite to this, where they want to not disclose which people they're giving immunity to, it's compromise, because it'll compromise them obtaining more evidence against the accused. In this case, you've already got the evidence. You don't need any more evidence that they've done anything wrong, but you need evidence that something should be done about it. And that's your signatures, your evidence of public concern. So they're kind of connected in a way. And in this, they're talking about. I actually read the House of Lords. I've just read the House of Lords document on it, and the House of Lords documents talking about what would happen if only prosecutors or directors of prosecutions were the only people who could bring prosecutions. And then one of the Lords was saying basically like every citizen or person should have a right to prosecute, because otherwise, like what I've said before, it's a monopoly on it. But the thing is, if it's such a big case and so important and serious, how can any single citizen have the burden of paying for those legal costs or bringing it to a court when we're meant to be the ones funding these departments and police and surveillance and CPS? What we're paying his money for, You got the right to petition government to do something about it when it's a matter of the state, or a very serious matter like perjury, because it can't be dealt with through the normal courts anyway, so it's got to be dealt with higher up. Now, if they're refusing to do something about it, you got to collect your signatures and make them do something about it by the evidence of public concern with the evidence that something's been done wrong. The evidence that something's been done wrong, you wouldn't know about it if you didn't have evidence of something being done wrong. But to get something done about the evidence you've got of something being done wrong, you need to compel them with the weight of evidence of public concern that people want something to be done about it. And that's really why you need the right to petition and to collect all the signatures. Otherwise, you could just do it, put a complaint in and then get it done. But one person writing a complaint in isn't going to get every single justice in England to, hand themselves into a police station, is it? Particularly when it can't be prosecuted in the normal courts and the police don't usually deal with that. It's Judicial Conduct Investigation Office for sure. And unfortunately, I've got a lot of cases with that office, and I realised just earlier on, before I started recording this, when I'm getting towards the end of reading this document, this fact sheet, right, and doing my notes on it, that I actually thought, well, the Lady Chief Justice must have been a judge for quite a while before she got to that position, and she must have been done some of these deals as well. So we're screwed, because she's running the Judicial Conduct Investigations Office that's meant to prosecute justices for perjury, and she's probably done some deals for justice herself as well. So we're absolutely and completely up the creek, unless the Bishop of London is going to do something about it, which is what I'm pursuing now, because the Bishop of London she's not a judge, but she's got a judicial responsibility for getting people to comply with the Great Charter, the Magna Carta, and the things like the judicial oath and so forth. I don't know if the Attorney General has been a judge, but even the Attorney General might have been involved in cases as a lawyer where people have been doing deals. And it comes down to Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, really, and Ken Livingstone, and possibly even Margaret Thatcher as well. But, there are lots of things that, Queen Elizabeth with the Magna Carta, Criminal Law Act 1967, and also in 1948 with Magna Carta. There's a lot being done wrong, and you can't just write the whole thing off when your whole country's based on it. At some point, someone needs to give your vehicle an MOT, a Ministry of Transport, a Ministry of Justice, an MOJ, a MOJ, right? And it's also an MOT, Ministry of Transport, and an MOJ, Ministry of Justice. And they need to assess your vehicle, whether it's safe to run, whether it's got any faults, if it's roadworthy, if it's justice-worthy or not. And they would like the laws to be made legally. They would like all their new procedures and principles to be lawful. It works for them. Well, taking drugs might work for someone, but it doesn't say it's legal or not. Robbing cars might work well for someone. They might have a new principle of robbing cars, but it might not be legal. This is the thing. And the problem is that my assessment of the justice system is that it has failed its MOT test, its MOJ test. It is corrupt. laws have been made contradictory to each other. We've got ancient customs which define our identity and who and what we are and our history, and there are morals to them. This, like, if there were no morals to the judicial oath that I swear I will not serve justice in respect to persons, their conscience, then why have the oath? Because they're trying to make out there's some kind of virtue, there's some kind of honesty, there's some kind of honour in the job. Like, you've got to be honest. But when a guy comes along like Tony Blair and says, hey, look, I'm renaming red yellow and yellow red, but we'll go along as if we haven't, don't pay no attention to that. I renamed red yellow and yellow red, but at some point someone is going to look back in history and say, just in that yellow, well, it used to be, but I now have called it red because I'm Tony Blair, right? I can do that. Black's white and white's black, right? And someone's going to go at some point, just a minute, Tony, you're saying that's black, but, before, 2001, it was white, but you're carrying on as if it's, this, no, well, I made some changes. We renamed it. Yeah, but, the law says that, red's red and yellow's yellow. It's a rainbow. This is our ancient customs and history that, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, Well, I just mixed it up a bit. It doesn't work because you can't carry on life in a lie, right? No matter how much you would like to change things, right? Some things can't be changed, even though, these people would love to defy gravity. The politicians like to they're like anyone else. They want to, they've got this magic power and it's called lying. And for a while, it's like Jesus can walk on water, but eventually he'll sink. Well, actually, he'll instantaneously sink. And these prime ministers now are sinking every time. They're not lasting 2 seconds. They're running on a lie now. They're running on lies and falsities because they're just not doing the job properly. When you come up with some ideas, come up with legal ideas, come up with lawful ideas. And if they don't like what was there before, this is what Kamala Harris is trying to do. What was and what can be. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pizza, but the excessively erratically leaning Tower of Pizza that is even more leaning. It's leaning over that far that it's going to fall. You can't just go on pretending that everything's okay unless you make people stupid and they don't realise. I think they're wanting to do a great reset because they've made a cock up. But what we don't need a great reset. What we need is a great confessions of these people to admit that they've made a cock up. They're incompetent. They're just as bad as everyone else, but they're using these judicial systems to punish us when they're the ones who are just as criminal as everyone else, if not worse, because they're meant to be in responsible positions, responsibility. And this is when you got your perjury. So, I don't like it. I mean, if I can work it out when, I've only just taken an interest in law for, a few years, someone knows about it. People in Parliament, in the House of Lords, knew that they've been perverting the course of justice, possibly even in Parliament breaking the law. Parliament privileges don't give the right for people when they're committing fraud or forgery. And in a way, it is fraud and forgery because they're doing things that they can't do and they're making out that they can do them. Like, Magna Carta repealing certain life peer privileges, but then they're claiming that, they're opening Parliament with all the ancient rights and privileges. So how can they repeal them? It actually is like the blind leading the blind. So it's no wonder this Lord Blunkett fell down a railway track or wherever, was that staged? Was he pushed? We don't know. But these incidents are happening all the time. Are they terrorist attacks? Are they staged? Is the news exaggerating? We don't know. This is the thing. But there's definitely something going on. But anyway, so these, I don't know. What I don't know is, I don't know what the procedures or law or rules were for these before they introduced this new system. It says there was a previous system. Now, as far as I know, and this is the part that I'm not certain about, which I admit I'm not certain about, as far as I knew, witnesses have immunity because they're not on trial, right? Although in a court, if it turns out that someone else committed the crime and not the accused, apparently they can be prosecuted for that crime. But I don't know about other offences. Because this is the thing, right? If you have got a witness, the problem is that when the police are getting witnesses to come in, they might end up saying something which incriminates themselves, but they're not on trial. Now, that's kind of really a little bit like the issue to protect them, but they're meant to be protected anyway. I'm sure there was meant to be a protection in law. But what the police have done with it, and the government, is said, oh, well, we'll get these people to do a little bit of help and help the police, and then we'll kind of grant them these immunity certificates. But I don't think they needed them, because I'm pretty sure that they weren't on trial unless they'd committed that crime, because you're there to try for a crime of which you've complained about and not another crime. Although I know that other offences can surface, but that's the one that the prosecutors brought for, right? And, so witnesses don't really need these certificates writing, because they were meant to be protected anyway, and you shouldn't really try and get them involved to help and assist with the police, and definitely not if they're going to incriminate themselves. And that's the part that draws in all this breaking the oath and doing deals, because you're starting to get people to do deals when there's crime involved, and giving information and confessions and pleas mixed in with it is completely and totally wrong. It's immoral, and why have the oath, And there was some military aspect to it, and the modern police now we had sheriffs, but they weren't military. You had sheriffs, and you had people engaged, and they had lawyers. There was no military operation. They had a sheriff, like an under-sheriff, and a couple of bailiffs. It wasn't a military unit. Now that the police have become a regime, a rank-and-file military organisation with hats and truncheons, and everyone obeys a commander, and you've got an inspector of police, it's now become apparent that the police are a force like the military, and that's why that law was made, because the army was trying people and getting confessions, and that's effectively what the police are doing with drivers. They've got a whole network set up, and they're going out and getting people, shooting them, or setting up traps for them, and then they're making them confess without a fair trial, without a court of record, and the police can't do that, and that's a military operation against people, and they're not getting a fair trial. And that's what happened up at the borders in Scotland with this Claim of Right Act and the whole principle of it, and it also deals with oaths of justices, that the military commander cannot be the judge and get confessions, which is what the police chief's doing now. And that's why he can't do it, because he's just, they're using blackmail and military operations on people, and that's what you do to a foreign country. You use military operations. You don't use military operations against your fellow citizens. Justice is done by the people, the peers. You complain about someone, you get some evidence to prove it, you go to a court, and they're judged by their peers in a court of record. You ain't getting that with the police chief. You're getting sweep for call. His cameras are the only court of record that he believes in. I've got a photo of you shagging a donkey, and that's it, right? Give me £50, right? I photographed you shagging a donkey, give me 50 quid, we'll put you in the front of the newspaper. That's it. There's no fucking jury, there's no court of record, there's nothing. He's like a voyeur. He's just going around taking photos of people doing stuff, right? And then saying, give me £50. That's illegal. And that effectively really is what I think Mark Zuckerberg and all these big social platforms are doing. It's an invasion of privacy by the authorities. It's an invasion of our privacy. It's a government overreach because they want everything to be run by big factory corporations and under lock and key and under surveillance and control and scientists in boxes, with chemicals. They don't want there to be lots of different companies and businesses, because it's too now when people are they think that there's lots of dangerous things people could invent or make with current technology. There's nothing more dangerous than these apps, right? That's too much for the government to handle with their Innovation and Technology Centre, because it's not all in the Microsoft building with cameras looking at it with the ultimate security and Bill's their best mate giving them donations. It's too much for the government to handle, that there might be 100,000 companies working on 100,000 chemicals with 100,000 new technologies, and that's like a needle in a haystack for them. And they want to know what's going on. They want to know what people are doing. They want to know what people are making, because they don't trust them. Someone might make a pinhead that might blow the planet up, right? And, there's no security on the building, or have they got the right fences or the right, what's happening in there? And this is like the dilemma, effectively, of Rand Paul with Dr. Fauci. But all it proves is that, a lot of these labs are governed and controlled and under surveillance, but it's still happening, And what about the surveillance and cameras of the fact that no one, even though all these corporate companies are controlled and owned by Block Vanguard, that it was doing damage to our health? How did that slip past anyone? That the totality of all these food companies has been the slow, gradual toxicity of our health and diabetes. Now, when did someone call that in? And he doesn't need to run the surveillance because the fucking local councils passed it all and the government approved it. It's part of the strategy. So they're having a laugh. They believe that every single person on this planet should be, every single thing they say and do should be recorded. And, they'll encourage people to be comfortable with that by making them popular and having them lots of friends and worshippers and fans and followers, and buy me a coffee and this or that, and be Neil Oliver's carry Neil Oliver around like C3PO and a fucking chief chair or whatever around the fucking jungle. Everyone likes the Strokes or whatever. Everyone wants to be a fucking celebrity like on TV, and get comfortable with it. And it's okay being filmed. It's okay, all this. But people don't like it or want it. This Big Brother watch 1985, Orwell. The government do not want, with the current way that technology is going, there to be loads of small independent places doing things without the government having its private eye poking in there, or even recording everything you say and do. And, this is their problem with MI5. They want to do it, and their excuse is, it's, terrorists and crimes going up. And they've orchestrated it, in my opinion. They got Putin to do it. They've got Putin, the sheepdog. They whistled at him with NATO, and Putin backed and blew up Ukraine. And all the Ukrainian sheep ran into England, and now we're fucking crime levels through the roof, right? That's what happened. They blew the whistle at Putin like a little good dog, and he backed everyone and chased everyone. He blew the fuck out of Ukraine. Zelensky's just as bad, but they're both dumb. They're meant to be grown men. Apparently Zelensky was going to go do a peace deal with Putin, and then Boris Johnson went in there and blew the fucking referee whistle and broke it up. This is what we're dealing with, and apparently if Jeremy Corbyn had been Prime Minister, there wouldn't have been a war. Would he been having sex with Russia? Would he been making porn movies with Russian women if Jeremy Corbyn would have been in the government? And then Putin could have been, posing like a fucking, Fabio or something, Putin could have been some kind of like sex god like Fabio or something, with, I don't know, maybe he could have been making porn videos with Charles and Camilla or something. I don't know, whatever. But this is the thing. I don't know why they didn't want Corbyn to be the Prime Minister, because we could have been friends with Russia. It's all bollocks, So I don't really know which way the government are going, but they don't trust anyone. And people who don't trust people usually don't trust themselves, but they're the ones who've been breaking all the laws, like Blair. He can only plead stupid or corrupt. He's either a criminal or he's dumb. I'm stupid, I didn't know, or, well, I did it on purpose because I don't give a fuck, I've rebranded yellow as red, I'm Tony Blair. I've decided that, we'd had enough of yellow being yellow, and we're going to say that it was red now, and that was it. And tough, it works better for us, works better for me. We can get more criminals done. Well, no, Tony, you can't get more criminals because the crime's never been as high. But with all this technology and all these nice things that we're making in industry, why are people pissed off? Maybe it's actually making them miserable. Maybe all the whole narcissistic obsession now with all the social media isn't that good. Maybe it was never a good thing. That's the thing. But anyway, I've diverged now. So this effectively, it's not what you think it is. It's not like immunity so people can't be prosecuted. It is a way for them to really do deals for justice. It's a big, justice deal in place. It's like a bargain centre for crime. Bargains, deals, roll up. What crimes have you done? We'll do you a deal. 50% off prison sentences, 25% off community service. Come on, roll up. Confess. Come on in. Tell us what you've done, and we'll sort you a deal out. Jail sentences going for cheap today. Look at this police chief. He's got all these drivers, sending fine money in, saying, I'm guilty. Well, did you realise that the signs, that was a national speed limit sign at the 50 zone that, you caught out the corner of your eye, which misled you? That's illegal. This is the thing. But the worst thing with the police is that some of these police officers do catch criminals and, actually do believe in society being, normal, right? And that's the upsetting part. And they get really annoyed and pissed off when you say that they're all bent and crooked and corrupt, right? But they're not critical enough to question every single thing that they're doing and why they're doing it and if they're doing it right. And they don't really, as long as they're catching the bad guys, or what they think of the bad guys, someone smashing a window, someone stealing a car, someone taking drugs, someone robbing a bank, as long as they're banging those bad boys up, that they, the bad boys who they went to school with, they think they're doing a good job, and they think that they want the medal stuck on the chest, and they want the reward, right? But the problem is, the whole system that they're operating in is corrupted. How they're achieving those goals, there are certain principles and rules in effect. Now, if you were, like Fantasia with Mickey Mouse, right, and you're just, dun, 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 and all the brushes are just like picking up, right, and like you're animating everything like Mickey Mouse on Fantasia, right, and all the fucking brushes are mopping the floor and everything, and the police chief's getting all the drivers, right, to send him the £50 in. Look at this. I'm getting all the drivers to send me, all these notices of intended prosecution are going out. He's the one fucking running the fucking. He's the one running the Scale Electric fucking track, the cunt. Who set the cunts up going round the fucking track. He set the Scale Electric track up with them all going round. Ooh, look at this. Put a camera there, right? Pulling them. This is the thing. And he thinks he's doing a good job. when, it's actually not set up as it claimed to be. And it takes a person with a keen eye to know that he's got a little con going, a little con scheme. This is the thing. And as for the rest of the crime, why even is there any crime? If as much money was put into working out why people are breaking the law, then I don't think there would be a problem. But now they're bringing all these other problems in, like non-crime, hate crime recordings, and that. They're wanting to program humans and decide and dictate what human behaviour is, while at the same time saying that it's a crime to discriminate against someone for who they are as an individual, which just doesn't compute. And also, they've got all these clauses like freedom of expression and so forth, which they just completely disregard. You can't have freedom of expression. You can't have freedom of expression if you want law, because law restricts and inhibits the freedom of expression. If you're displeased with something, you'd be angry. It's human. They're wanting everyone to be quite very they're wanting people to be unemotional, unless there's a TV show and everyone's clapping. The only emotion that they want people to express is clapping at celebrities or worshipping celebrities or laughing like on TV. They don't want people to be annoyed, pissed off, or or with anything. But yet, all these TV shows are the things that's causing people to be depressed. But those people, there's something wrong with those people. They don't fit in. No, actually, they're depressed at the fact that all these people were fucking in a narcissistic fucking orgy of self-obsession, right? That's the problem. If the police would be more intelligent to actually know what the problems in society are, they might actually be able to solve a crime. Unfortunately, it's like Bob and Bill. It's blokes. It's a man's world. In Norwich, Bill and Bob and Ben can work out, that there's a naughty boy going around and he's breaking windows and we need to smack his bottom, and we're gonna find him. And we've got surveillance cameras, and then we go find a naughty boy and we smack his bottom, and this is being a bad boy. That's bloke shit, right? It's testosterone driven bloke. I'm a bloke. Master criminal. I'm a bloke. I'm a proper bloke, right? It's not intelligent. It's not philosophy. It's not thinking why these people behave or do certain things, and that's the problem with the police. They don't want to think further than the role they've been given. And we need to start doing that. And I don't think all this non-violent hate crime recording is anything, because you can't say that a person's honest and true response to something is criminal, or even it shouldn't even be the area or remit of the police. It should be the area and remit of the NHS or a nurse or something if someone's angry, not the police. And then creating loads of crimes for things that I'm sure this government would criminalise breathing if they could get away with it, and start fining people for breathing too much. Like, you breathe, we're limited to oxygen. You're breathing in 5 litres of oxygen too much. We'll fine you, or it's some kind of offence or something like that. Which, they're getting close to that with the COVID masks. We need to have some kind of intelligence employed, and not the intelligence that has been coming out of Tony Blair or Gordon Brown. People like that need to be permanently banned from politics. They need to be kept away from governments or anywhere that makes any responsible decisions in matters of church, state or law. People like Tony Blair and Gordon Brown need to be permanently banned from engaging in at all, because these people are extremely dangerous to the world and society. They're perverting entire legacies, entire countries, histories, and legacies of entire histories of countries. You know, it really is kind of you might as well make Putin the king of England. You know, then have Tony Blair the prime minister again. He really was retarded quite clearly, in my opinion, and that's I really think that they based the Rick Mill the New Statesman program on Blair. There is a similarity between those characters. I think it was mocking Blair. Um, you know, um, he might think that he's clever and intelligent, but he's not. He's not clever and intelligent when he's perverted the course of history. You know, there are reasons why we don't do deals for justice, because you're manipulating a person's conscience, right? And it's not justice. It's not actually justice. It ends up being a regimented, effectively an army that's blackmailing people and badgering them. And that's the thing with the police. You've got these two parts of the police. You've got this part of the police that's saying, oh, crime's up and we're not solving that many serious crimes, but that we're still getting these burglars and car thieves and that. But then you've got this other side to the police where business is booming. They're raking it in. They're absolutely raking it in. Now, that's the safe side of policing. That is like we've got all these rodent rancheros organised. We've got the scale electric going around the track. It's all under control. We've got the ULEZ fines coming in. We've got the fucking congestion charge coming in. We've got we've got them coming around the scale electric track. That is raking it in. That's a setup like an amusement park. And that's the part that's illegal, and that's the part they're using blackmail for, and that's the part where justice is there is no justice. There's no peer judgment, there's no court of record, there's a military commander who's almost kind of like, he's almost like the Beatles in a Sergeant Pepper. It's almost kind of like the brass bands part of the police, the hat. He's like bum 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 bum. The conductor is the police chief as the conductor of the orchestra. He's orchestrated it all, and he's making millions, billions out of it criminally, because he's a military commander, and he's got everyone to confess. But he's the one who set up the show, right? But then you've got this other side of the police that's doing terrible and failing, because it's just gone dark. This assisting offender program, grassing mates up, creating distrust, and all these type of very, very bad human emotions and things, and traitorous acts. Even if someone is breaking the law, it's like it hasn't helped justice. It hasn't helped crime be solved, and now they've just opened the floodgates, to a mass influx of criminals coming in, who have been sheepdogged in by Putin, the sheepdog. The police need to become intelligent. We need police who aren't just blokes who are going after naughty boys. We need police who are somehow more like professors or some kind of a deeper. But people don't do that job. I don't think people go into that job who are that intelligent, other than putting a few shapes in a box and getting the fingerprints match and get the bad boy, whether or not he's stabbed someone 18 times and buried the body in the park, or whether he's just been smashing the windows and then caught spray painting in the front of the police station. the, some countries like graffiti. They say it's art. This is the thing, you know. That we need some intelligence in this country. They're not employing the psychologists like Jordan B. Peterson type. Even though I've criticised Peterson recently, they're not employing the psychologists correctly or the NHS correctly. We've got professionals, we've got thinkers, and we've got resources. They're not being properly employed or distributed or used. And instead, we've got quite Neanderthal and backward procedures which are actually getting worse, not better. We used to have morals and principles. Now they've abused half of the morals and principles because it's good business. The police chief is almost like a businessman now, and business is booming in that side of the police, and that's the part that's utterly corrupt and criminal because now it's just in daily routine, and that's why it fails the MOT test. The government has failed the MOT test for justice, and it needs to be corrected before we can move on and come up with anything new. You can't just reset it and scrap it all, because what have we got? We're meant to find people who have done something wrong, right, or lied, and they're the ones who are punished. But apparently, we're not allowed to punish Tony Blair. We're not allowed to punish the justices. We're not allowed to punish Gordon Brown. We're not allowed to punish these police chiefs because apparently who's going to the public will be furious, and apparently that's a hate crime. Being furious at a corrupt government is a hate crime apparently, but so have these corrupt entities giving themselves immunity. This is the thing.